Hey buddy, tonight I want to talk to you about how most men are a slave to their sexual desires and how things like pornography keeps you stuck in more ways than you might realize. Hopefully the YouTube algorithm doesn't limit the visibility of this video, because sometimes with topics like these, it limits it to 18 and up. But I was introduced to pornography when I was 10 years old. So if you're watching this and you are a child, or if you're watching this and you're a full-grown man, I'm going to try to make this video relevant to the male species in the West as much as possible. And one thing I'm going to say is none of this is going to be from a place of shame and guilt, because the times in the past that I tried to quit my sexual addiction to things like pornography, masturbation, orgasm, we're going to use the term PMO. It's when you view pornography and you do the whole deal, PMO. I'm clarifying that because in previous videos I get tons of comments of people asking what that is. Anyway, we're not going to do it from guilt and shame. I'm just going to share my perspective. I'm just going to try to educate you from a different angle. I hope this video helps you, because as we grow and evolve and become better men, the collective gets better. The world itself evolves as we evolve. A couple things I want to preface. It's extremely humid outside, so there's a chance that the lens might fog up, because my camera is on the outside of my car. That's what gives it this fun cinematic look. And also the suspension on this vehicle. This is a 2001 Toyota Avalon. I inherited it from my father after he died. And the suspension is very loud, and I'm just running this thing into the ground. I'm not really doing any repairs, and once it dies out, then I'll get a new car. But in the meantime, it's been going strong for 20 years. This is the only car I've ever owned. Anyway, I digress. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background if this is your first time on this channel. So, little story. I was introduced to pornography when I was 10 years old. That's how long ago was that? 26 years ago. That's insane. I was at a sleepover. I went to private Christian school, and I had a buddy, and his parents had all the channels. And I'm not just talking about late night HBO where you might see some softcore porn. I was in the living room. I don't recall what happened. I think his parents were asleep. My friend was just in his room playing video games. I turned on the TV, and I stumbled upon a gangbang scene as a 10-year-old conservative Christian child who, I don't even know if I'd ever seen a female nipple at that point. So that level of innocence, going from 0 to 1,000 in a sense, really traumatized me and fucked me up in ways that I didn't realize until later in life. So I have a lot of compassion for guys who are addicted to pornography and don't really have control of the lustful, animalistic nature that is inherent within every man. And in this modern age, that doesn't really fix itself. It takes intentionality, and it takes a conscious choice to shine a light on this area of life. Now, it gets very difficult because here in the West, at least, a lot of people are involved in religion, in a lot of cases fundamentalist Christianity, and the philosophy here in the West, I live in the United States, it comes down to, hey, invite Jesus into your heart so you won't go to hell, and then everything will be okay. However, that's not true, because doing that, mentally agreeing with a certain religious ideology doesn't actually set you free in any way, shape, or form, and it does not give you any outward manifestation of inward healing. You have to intentionally take these things on. Now, religion aside, all that stuff aside, I want to talk about how wasting your sexual energy as a man, how it really affects us. Most men, their entire life, they develop a habit of PMO, just like brushing their teeth. For me, it was one of those things where I had a ritual, a nightly ritual of, I would wind down, I'd do my thing, and then I would fire up the computer at the time, or the phone, and I would find the perfect video, and I would do the whole deal. I have learned at this point in my life, I've been free of pornography, I've been free of being a slave to the animalistic sexual nature for several years now. And in hindsight, I am amazed at how much of my motivation and drive was being squandered on these things. I had no idea, and you won't realize it until you get to a point where you're free of this completely. It doesn't mean that, you're still not, you'll always be attracted to women, you'll always be drawn to the feminine, but that urge to just ejaculate all the time whenever you feel the urge, when you learn to resist that, men were created to use that sexual energy, that tension that you feel, that discomfort of just like wanting to release, that can be harnessed and is harnessed into things like creativity, whether it's building a business, whether it's writing a book, whether it's, writing a song, whatever your individual creative tendency might be, becomes supercharged. Truly, I am not bullshitting you. I would never, ever in a million years go back once I tasted the fruits of retaining my sexual energy. Now, this doesn't mean just taking a vow of celibacy, okay? Here's another thing that I've realized. There is such a thing as positive and negative polarity when it comes to sexual energy. So, examples of negative polarity would be masturbating to pornography. It's like you ejaculate, you get that release, and then you're just sitting there alone on your couch or in your bed with your pants down, and the moment that the orgasm is done, you get this emptiness. You feel this sad, dark feeling, And if you do it during the day, you don't want to be productive. You want to veg out, you want to play video games. That creative spark, I won't say it's gone completely, because I know that there are successful men out there who have these habits and still achieve success. But those men, imagine what they would accomplish if they were operating at their full potential and not squandering this sexual energy. So that's one negative polarity. Another negative polarity is hooking up with women that you feel absolutely no connection to whatsoever, other than maybe a little bit of physical attraction. That gives you an empty feeling. It will give you a similar feeling to masturbating by yourself to pornography, because what you're doing is you're just using another person's body to sort of get off to it. You're like masturbating with their body. And then after that release, you might not even want them in your house anymore. You're just like, that is also negative polarity. And positive polarity is having a sexual release with someone that you feel a connection to. This could be your girlfriend, this could be someone that you just care about, that when you're not having sex, you enjoy their presence, you enjoy spending time with them. There's something deeper there. Miraculously, after ejaculation with someone like this, you don't get that empty feeling. If anything, I won't say that you feel recharged, but there's like a peaceful calmness that you have. You feel more serene. You feel focused. You feel a bit more conscious. And you can still, after that, be productive. You might not have like that intense energy behind you, but you don't have that negative polarity that you usually do when you're addicted to that sexual release. So these are things that I had to sort of find out for myself. And once I found these things out, I was able to quit those things. And it wasn't motivation from guilt and shame. It was motivation from like, oh my God, I'm literally not reaching my maximum potential. And something like this doesn't really get talked about. You know, it's like there are dudes who just like glorify, you know, they talk about their favorite porn stars. They talk about, oh, and then we go home and and whack off or whatever. Like, first of all, if that's the vibration of your circle of friends, I would say, brother, that it is easier to go through a season of being alone for a time and maybe not having any friends than to associate with those kinds of people, because you really do become the company you keep. I'm very selective now with who I spend time with, whether it's women, whether it's other guys. I need them to be like-minded, either at my level or above. And if they are maybe not where I'm at, they need to be receptive to growth. They need to be eager to essentially become a better version of themselves. Because whenever I see someone who's maybe at like a lower point in their evolution, I naturally have a desire to condescend and like pull them up. And if they're not receptive, then that's the whole idea of casting pearls before swine. I think that's in the Bible. I could be wrong. But essentially casting pearls before swine is like you're dropping knowledge, you're dropping wisdom, and they're just not receptive. I've had friends like this who are like in terrible shape, and they'll, you know, kind of inquire about how to get in better shape, diet, and I'll tell them, and it's like it goes in one ear and out the other. They never take any action. They never ask for clarification. It's like, I'm not interested anymore to share insights or wisdom with people who can't receive it, because it takes humility both ways, you know. So anyway, I digress. So a few steps, you know, again, back to the guilt and shame. Sometimes quitting PMO can be a process, and it's not going to happen overnight. The best thing that you can do right now, if you're deeply in the throes of that, and it's like that addiction is so ingrained, is to just set intention. And I know that might seem small, but truly set an intention. Like journal about it, meditate on it, and slowly take steps. And something as simple as scrolling on Instagram and going in, you know, if you're on social media. I'm on social media because I get inspired by uplifting content. I create content. But like in your discover page, and whenever there's like just some girl in yoga pants doing squats with her ass facing the camera, hold the button down, click on not interested. And over time, the algorithm will start to chill the fuck out. And you can start to curate your social media experience so you're not being exposed to these things all the time. So like little steps like that, and self-inquiry, the kind of man that you want to be. When you imagine having kids, I've got a 4-year-old son. It's like, you know, what kind of man do you imagine you want their father to be? What kind of father do you want to be? And again, not from guilt and shame, but just to become the best version of yourself, to take steps towards that. My dad committed suicide when I was 16 years old. And essentially, you know, I talk about this in other videos. This is if you're new to the channel. He had a business, a chiropractic business, and his animalistic nature got the best of him. He engaged in inappropriate behavior and then he essentially, long story short, was facing losing his business. He was facing potential jail time because people were pressing charges with inappropriate behavior. It turned his whole world upside down. And I remember, he ultimately ended up taking his own life when he was going through all of this because he was losing his business. There was life insurance. He wanted to make sure his family was taken care of. But I remember having a private conversation with him and him just breaking down and basically saying that when he engaged in that behavior, he was also giving into consuming pornography and all those things, and it sort of overtook him because he broke free from it for a while. He was involved in church. He was like a pretty religious guy, but then ultimately he kind of got pulled back into that. And so when you do break free of pornography, I would encourage you to stay humble. I still have a lot of humility when it comes to this stuff. I have to, because even though I've been free from it for years and years, every man is susceptible. Pornography is literally created to, it's like a low blow, it's like it attacks you at the knees. It attacks you when you least expect it. And so you have to stay vigilant if you want to be a man who's not a slave to these things and not get sucked back into it. Stay humble. I still, if I'm on Instagram, whenever I see content of stuff that just, even just like really mild stuff, some bimbo just like doing squats with her ass facing the camera, it's like, oh, it's my fitness channel. She knows what she's doing. Because you look at the comments, it's all thirsty dudes and stuff. The moment I see that stuff, I just click on it, not interested. Or I just like block it or something to basically show the algorithm, hey, this isn't the kind of content that I respond to. And, you can take steps like this. Find a community of men. It could be in your religious group. Maybe you're Muslim, maybe you're Christian, maybe you have just a group of guys with similar goals of wanting to have integrity and virtuous and all that. Again, not to be self-righteous, but simply when you do this inner work and you break free of these vices, I'm telling you right now, that's how we make the world a better place. Gandhi, become the change you want to see in the world. And what happens is when you get to this place where you're no longer judging yourself and you're able to break free of it, you'll also stop judging other people. There was a time of self-righteousness where when I broke free of this, I was just kind of like, all these dudes are whacking off every day and they're addicted to porn and they have no idea, how much they're slacking and how unproductive they are. And now at this place in my evolution, dude, it's just been replaced with compassion. This is one of the biggest weaknesses for dudes. A lot of guys are suffering and struggling with this. So awareness and compassion is ultimately what I think contributes to other guys doing this kind of healing work. So I hope this helps you in some way. At the very least, just know you're not alone. A lot of guys, I'd say a majority of men, are addicted to pornography. It's just they don't really talk about it. They keep it to themselves. And so, I'm grateful for this kind of community on YouTube. If you want a more in-depth community, I've started an online community. It's called the Conscious Men Community. And we get pretty vulnerable. We go deep. We talk about all kinds of things, including breaking free of pornography addiction and spiritual work and health and fitness, all kinds of things. No topics are off the table, So if that interests you, the link is in the description. If not, no worries. I have a whole channel of videos that are just meant to support you so that way you don't feel alone in this journey. Comment if you have anything to add. And I think that's all I got for you tonight, man. You are loved. You matter. Barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. Talk to you soon.